HMCS Haida. That is exactly what is behind me. It is time for a history lesson today. Gabe is going to not only take us through the history of the ship, but you're going to take us on the ship. We're going to learn a little bit more about it.
That's it. So this ship is 80 years old this year. We are celebrating and honoring 80 years of service, not just as the 20 years of history serving in the Canadian Navy during the Second World War, the Cold War, and in the Korean War, but also 60 years as a symbol, as a national historic site that really tries to tell that story for Canadians and acts as a monument to Canada's naval history.
So what are you guys doing to celebrate the 80 years?
We're going to be hosting a whole suite of different types of events. It's a really exciting year. Obviously, the ship's birthday weekend is really exciting.
Yeah.
That's August 26th and 27th, and that's not going to be something that you want to miss. That's we're going to be hopefully dressing the ship, special events on the jetty and aboard the ship as well. But really, we've got a whole year, a whole season's worth of different types of activities that are happening that we hope people come down and see. Everything from daily activities to special events.
And now you guys are open for the season, correct?
We're right on the cusp, so we're really excited. So May 20th and 21st is our opening weekend.
Incredible.
So we'll be opening 10 until 5 each day, and then starting Wednesday, May 24th, we're going to be open Wednesdays through Sundays, all the way through the summer. And then as of September, we're going to be shifting to weekends only. So if you didn't catch us during the summer, then we hope to see you in September as well.
Okay, amazing. Well, we've seen a couple of little boys go past, and they're just in awe, looking, okay, great ship, want to go on it. And with that, we are now going to be going on it. So don't go anywhere. There's lots more coming up on Morning Live. Well, we have made it on board the Haida, and Gabe, there's such a rich history with this ship. It's really quite fascinating for people that have never been on it.
Absolutely. So the ship was commissioned in 1943, and then it served in the Second World War, the Korean War, the Cold War. So that's a 20-year military history, and during that time it developed a reputation. It became one of the most celebrated ships in naval history in Canada. So it was fascinating from that point of view. In 1963, it was paid off and slated to be scrapped. And a group of civilians and naval officers, retired naval officers, came together and said, "No,
and they fought for it.
This is it,
yeah.
Exactly." So this is that was the beginning of the second stage for Haida, going from active military service to being an important symbol in place that people could visit.
Well, it's a piece of history.
That's it.
You can't get rid of it.
People connected to it as part of Ontario Place, and it became administered under Parks Canada in 2002, and open to the public as part of the Hamiton waterfront in 2004.
Wow. So it's been part of Hamilton for quite a long time.
Almost 20 years now. So we're celebrating that too, as well as honoring what ends up being 80 years of service to Canadians and a very important part of Canadian naval history.
And in some way or form, whether you be a tourist and you're on it and you're looking around, or people that served on it and actually took part in it when it was in various battles. Where are we standing right now? What is this called?
That's a great question. So we're on the forecastle. So this is actually, when we tell the story about the ship, we invite people to come and stand up here, and we've got some wind today, and it does have some cold, and this ship was really sent everywhere. So one of its first missions in the Second World War was to act as an escort for merchant vessels going between Scotland and the Soviet Union.
That's all that says to me is cold.
Exactly, and the entire deck here may have been iced over at different points. They were traveling at night, and of course there was always the threat of submarines or airborne threats. So that's part of the story we try to tell is there was a certain amount of deprivation, a certain amount of toughness you had to have just to serve aboard the ship.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So if you do come, you get the chance to see the spaces where these sailors and where the ship's company served. You get the chance to go and stand on the forecastle, or to go down to the mess decks where they slung their hammocks right next to each other, 50 men to a room, right next to their battle stations, for example.
Okay, well, I am excited to continue the tour, but for now we're going to send things back inside the studio. A day in the life of a sailor aboard this ship, Gabe. What would that have been like?
Yeah, so this would have been in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s during the period of service for the ship. So this was it's very, very different from what we might experience during a trip on a modern vessel today. So we're here on what's called the mess decks, which is where over 200 regular sailors would have eaten, they would have slept here, and they would have also used the space to relax. And
all at the same time.
All at the same time. That's right. The ship operated 24 hours a day, so you would have had 8
people working in shifts, right?
Exactly. So you would have had people eating in this space while people overhead were trying to catch some rest. When the space was permitted, when smoking was permitted aboard the ship.
Oh, it must have just been thick in here.
Full. It was. You could not see. They say you couldn't see from one side of the ship to the other. So all of these things were happening. This was also the only place you could really relax aboard the ship. So for long periods at sea, 2, 3, 4 weeks if you were crossing the Pacific or the Atlantic, which Haida did many times.
Months.
You're looking at weeks at sea where this is home. Wow. So storage, not much. You really have to kind of pack light. You really would have been wearing the same uniform or rig every day.
I guess everything that you brought onto ship would have to fit in your locker, and that would be it.
That's it, exactly. Then the other piece, and actually we're just against one right here, this is an ammunition ramp. So just right next to where the sailors would have slept and eaten is the place where they would have gone for action stations.
Right.
So you would have had a crew, if the ship was involved in a battle, you would have had a crew, a few men at a time, hauling 67-pound cartridges up this ramp by hand up through here to pass it to the B or the A guns above us. So all manual lift, and that was literally inches from where you might have a group, sleeping up until the moment I guess they were called into service. Exactly.
Wow.
So when you come aboard the ship, one of my favorite parts about the ship is that you'll get the chance to talk to interpreters and volunteers who can tell these stories and give you more information. Some of those volunteers who are through the Friends of HMCS Haida actually served aboard the ship in the 60s.
Well, I slept over here.
This is my spot.
Yeah, this was my spot, and then this is where I used to eat, and my friend so-and-so used to eat right there, and we were playing cards as this guy was sleeping. Remember that time we woke him up because we had to go into battle? Exactly.
So to hear the story told from that point of view, it really makes this place, you start to see how unique it is in both in Canada and the world to have that connection to very recent memory.
Wow, I'm certainly glad that they did not put it out to sea, so to speak, and that they kept it looking the way that it's supposed to look.
Absolutely.
All right, coming up, we're going to continue our tour of this gorgeous ship. So don't go anywhere. Lots more coming up on Morning Live. Well, don't mind me. I'm just setting, a little bit of Morse code on the HMCS Haida here. I'm in the radio name. Gabe, tell me about these radio call signs, like the Morse code and the voice King Cobra. Where would that have come from?
Yeah, so Haida had a bunch of different code names that it would have had over the course of its time, both during the Second World War and during the Cold War. So from the 40s through until the 60s, it went by a few different names. It changed the call sign on the side of the ship, went from G23 to, if you look at 215, that's what it was, its call sign later on. And so King Cobra, if you were communicating by one of the many different methods that we have to communicate here in the radio room, the main radio room, you would have used King Cobra to signify this is Haida, exactly. And you got the Morse code going there.
So A would be, that would have just been one letter.
That's it.
Wow. Okay. And E is just
easy.
My name is so simple.
When you would have had a full team working in here, so you would have had 4, 5, or 6 crew just receiving messages through Morse code. You would have taken that information. It all would have needed to be decrypted because, of course, it was in code during World War time. Passed off to an officer to be decrypted, and then it would have been sent to a different room so that information could be shared, usually with the captain in a different part of the ship.
This is what we should give children now, to send text messages to each other. Here you go. This is what you get. Go for it. See what you got.
We were talking about today that some sparkers, they were called, could do up to 30 words per minute or more. So that's hundreds of little touches per minute just in order to communicate. It's really an incredible skill if you think about it.
Yeah, I would say so.
And then they also were able to communicate by voice. Aboard the ship, you'll see different ways that they communicated with things as complex as UHF radio, which was quite sophisticated, all the way down to voice pipes, which is literally kind of talking into a can and hearing it through another pipe.
That's where playgrounds get them.
That's it, exactly.
That's
and actually,
totally
I'll show you just something right over here.
Oh my gosh, I want to see.
This was another system used aboard the ship, and this is called a sound-powered telephone.
Okay.
So what would have happened is this is essentially a tin can on a string.
Oh my gosh.
So to ring, and then, hello, this is the radio room. So it would have been very simple, very, very straightforward, but also brilliant because you could use this if the power went out, if there's any kind of issue aboard the ship. It's basic enough, but still works really well.
Honestly, I could spend all day on this ship. I really could. Okay, Gabe, our tour continues. Don't go anywhere. There's lots more coming up on Morning Live. Yes, I'm busy. I'm in the radio room. I'm doing things.